Hello, everyone. Today is Thursday, March 6th, 2025. You are here with Robin at In the Family Way Coaching, and we're here for our daily Bible reading. We are reading through the entire Bible in 1 year, and we are using the Day by Day Kids Bible. If you are just finding this podcast today, thank you and welcome. Don't be discouraged by the fact that we are reading a kids' Bible. Yes, this is definitely a family-friendly and family-oriented event, but it is just as relevant for us grown-ups as it is for the kids. And not just because it's the Bible, but because this version is pretty complete. It is just giving us the big story from Genesis all the way through Revelation, and it does so in a chronological order so that we see the whole one big story in one successive timeline. Sometimes events, such as what happens in the New Testament, is recorded in more than one book, and so we will not repeat the story. We will read them as one continuous story, and that will avoid confusion and help the Bible to be more understandable. And the Bible isn't good for much if you don't understand what you're reading, right? So that is what the goal of this event is to not only read through the Bible in 1 year, but for it to be in a format that we can understand. And we're going to talk about daily application every single day as to how every single day's reading God will use in your life as well as in mine. So thank you for being here, whether you have found this podcast on TikTok or on YouTube, whether you have found my site, or whether you are listening from your favorite podcasting app. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope that you spend a good deal of the rest of the year with us. I have a calendar available for anybody looking to follow along with their daily commitment. And I have my calendar out today. And if you are interested in a calendar of your own to keep track of your daily commitment and your daily attendance or accomplishment, then please feel free to head over to my site at www.inthefamilywaycoaching.com and click on the tab for Read the Bible in 1 year, and you will find my downloadable calendar there for you for free. Forest, Jedi, Pearl, and Diamond, did you hear the tinkle, tinkle, tinkle a minute ago on the microphone? I'm pretty sure it probably picked up. That's you, Julie. I forgot to mute my phone. I just thought you might like to know where I was at the time you texted me. We are reading. This is a very personalized event here. I know a good deal of you personally, not everybody who is watching and listening, but I've had the opportunity to get to know a couple of you, and some of you I already knew. So I'm very glad for this community in this event. It's one of the things that I really love and look forward to is the community that this event is fostering. So today we are going to be continuing reading about David, who is still running from Saul. And today we are going to have our reading take place in 1 Samuel chapter 23. We are going to read Psalm 63. We will have 1 Samuel chapter 24, as well as Psalm 57. Today is a little bit longer of a read today, and we're going to get right into it. Our first section is called Hiding Places. Now someone told David, "The enemy is fighting in a town close by. They are taking grain from the barns." David asked God, "Should we go and fight the enemies?" "Go ahead," said God. "Save the town." But David's men said, "We're afraid." So David asked God again, and God said, "Go ahead. You'll win." Then David took his men into town, and they fought against their enemies, and they won. But someone told Saul where David was. "Now God is giving David to me," said Saul. "David is in a town with gates and bars. It's like he is in a jail." So Saul called out his army. David found out that Saul was planning to fight David. So David prayed. "Saul plans to come here," said David. "He plans to get rid of the town because of me. Will Saul really come here?" "Yes," said God. "Will the people hand me over to Saul?" asked David. Yes, said God. So David and his men left, and they moved here and there. Saul found out that David was gone, so he didn't go after them. David stayed in desert hiding places, and Saul kept looking for him. But God didn't let Saul catch David. David wrote these words: God, you are my God. I look for you. My soul is thirsty for you. It's like being in a dry land where there is no water. I have seen you in the worship place. I saw your power and greatness. I saw your love is better than life. So my lips will praise you. I will praise you as long as I live. I will lift up my hands to show that your name is great. My soul will be happy the same way it is when I eat good food. My mouth will praise you with songs. I think of you at night when I go to bed. You are my helper. So I sing in the shadow of your wings. My soul hugs you, and your right hand holds me. David was staying in the Ziph desert, and he found out that Saul was coming after him. But Jonathan went to see David. Saul won't hurt you. You'll be king of God's people. I'll be the next highest leader. My father knows that. David and Jonathan promised to be friends, and then Jonathan went back home. David stayed in Ziph. Now the people of Ziph went to see Saul. David is hiding close to us, they said. So come whenever you want, and we'll catch him for you. You care about me, Saul said. I hope God is good to you. Go and find out where David is. He is tricky. Find out where his hiding places are. Come back and tell me. Then I'll go with you. I'll track David. So the people of Ziph went ahead, and Saul followed. David was now in another desert. He stayed there because he heard that Saul was after him. But Saul found out where David was, so Saul went to that desert too. Saul traveled along one side of the mountain, and David and his men traveled along the other side. They were in a hurry to get away from Saul. Saul and his men were getting closer and closer. Then a man came to Saul with a message. You'd better come quick. Enemies have come into our land, and they're robbing us. So Saul stopped chasing David. He had to fight the enemy army instead. Then David went to live in the En-Gedi desert. A chance to kill the king. 1 Samuel 24 and Psalm 57. Saul finished fighting the armed enemy, and then someone told him, David is in the En-Gedi desert. So Saul started chasing David again. He went to the rocks of the wild goats, and there he looked for David. Saul and his men passed some sheep pens. Then they came to a cave. Saul had to go to the bathroom, so he went inside the cave. It was the same cave where David and his men were hiding. They were at the back of the cave. David's men said, God is giving your enemy to you today. So David quietly cut off a piece of Saul's robe. But then David felt bad about it. He said, I shouldn't have done that to Saul. He is the king God chose. So David wouldn't let his men hurt Saul. Saul left the cave, and in a few minutes David came out of the cave too. He called out to Saul, My king! Saul turned around to look. David bowed with his face to the ground. People tell you that I want to hurt you, said David. Why do you believe them? God gave me a chance to catch you today. You can see that. Some of my men told me to kill you, but I saved you. I said that God chose you to be king, so I wouldn't hurt you. See, I cut off a piece of your robe, but I didn't kill you. David went on, I haven't done anything wrong. But you hunt me, and you want to kill me. I pray that God will judge who is right here. There's an old saying that bad people do bad things. I'm not bad, and I won't hurt you. Then David asked Saul, who are you chasing anyway? A dead dog or a tiny bug? I pray that God will save me from you. Saul said, is that you, David? And Saul cried. You're a better person than I am, said Saul. You were good to me, but I have been mean to you. God gave you a chance to kill me today, but you didn't do it. People don't let their enemies get away. So I hope God will pay you back with good things. I know you'll be king. Now, promise that you won't kill my family. So David promised. Then Saul went back home, and David and his men went back to their hiding place in a cave. David wrote, be kind to me, God. I come to you for safety. I will be safe in the shadow of your wings until trouble is gone. I call to God Most High. He saves me. He's mad at the one who chases me. God sends his love. He keeps his promises. Lions are all around me. I lie down with hungry animals. They're really people who hurt other people, and their words hurt just as much as sharp swords. But you are great, God, above the sky. Shine your strong power over all earth. My enemies put out a net to trap me. I was tired from being upset and sad. They dug a deep pit where I would walk, but they fell into it. My heart will stay with you, God. I will sing and make music. Wake up, my soul. Wake up, harp. I will wake up the day. And that is the end of our reading today. Is that an incredible reading today or what? We saw David having the opportunity to kill Saul, but he has no heart for killing Saul, and he just wants to do what is right. And he even regretted just cutting off that tiny piece of Saul's robe because he felt that he was disrespectful to the king whom God chose. David knows it is not his responsibility to remove the king. It is God's responsibility. And when God is ready, he will place him as king. And Saul has acknowledged too, he knows David is going to be king. And he is hunting him. And Saul walked away and let him be for now. We'll see if he continues to hunt him another day, or if he's finished hunting David. Our daily application today is that when we have the opportunity to hurt others who have been deliberately trying to hurt us, that we be like David and instead choose not to hurt people, even though we have the opportunity and we could do so. I know that for me, I have this opportunity at times where, specifically, I have somebody at work who has bothered me in the past, and thankfully that person is not bothering at me anymore. But a lot of it has to do with God and these daily readings and everything He is teaching us. And in fact, when they thought that I had done something to be hurtful, a few weeks ago, they told a friend of mine that they thought that I was going around telling people that I had gotten them in trouble because they have been in trouble lately. And I went right up to them and I said, I want you to know I didn't do that. And it really made me feel better because first of all, they were worried that I was trying to hurt them. And I wanted them to know I was not trying to hurt them. And it opened up the door to like a truce where we're not being upset with one another, and we can actually pass in the hallway and say goodnight or hello, whereas before we were both trying to ignore one another or
just to be mean. We were constantly complaining about each other. And I was always pointing out the things that they were doing wrong, and they were just bothering at me any way they could bother at me. So we were just nitpicking at one another. And we used to be good friends. So we knew how to be difficult with one another. And when I had the opportunity um, to be happy about the fact that they were in trouble, I worked really hard not to, because God tells us not to gloat over our enemies' uh, difficulties. And so God has been teaching me about that. And when I have the opportunity, I am working hard not to be mean and point out things that I think that they're doing wrong. And so that has been my personal application. I haven't had a lot to talk about lately with my own personal application, where I can share with you the day's reading. But today really brought that up to my mind and my heart. And so I thought I would share that so that you can see what that looks like. That God works in everybody's life, not just mine, but in yours too. And that's what it can look like when you have the opportunity to hurt somebody and you don't take it. And that's always the best way. And and Jesus said um, that God desires mercy, not sacrifice, when he was talking about atonement, forgiveness of sins. And I believe that that extends in general. Our God is merciful, and David was merciful today. And so God and Jesus desire mercy. And so it goes a long way toward peace. And in the New Testament, we learn that insofar as it is possible with us to have peace with everyone, that we should work towards that. And so this is what David is doing. So we often see, as I've pointed out, a New Testament parallel to what we're reading in the Old Testament, because there's always fulfillment. Jesus is the fulfillment of the Old Testament in his new covenant, his New Testament. And so that is our daily application today, is to be merciful where we can be merciful. People hurt us and they are unkind to us, and then we have the opportunity to be hurtful to them. And God wants us to be merciful. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but there is a saying that true power is not in showing how strong you are. It is in showing restraint of your strength and mercy. And that is what our God does. Our God is all powerful. He is all knowing, and he could very easily be like a mythical god, where like a Zeus, where he can throw down fire bolts, or and we've seen him do that with the city of Sodom. And he can destroy towns, he can turn people into pillars of salt for disobedience. He can open up the ground and swallow people whole who steal when they shouldn't steal. But true power is not in the display and overcoming and being bigger and stronger and pushing people down. God shows us with his examples that true power is in mercy, and true love is in mercy. And so that is our application today. We are always striving to be like Jesus, and who is like God. Those who have seen the Son have seen the Father. And so uh, that is what I wanted to share today, what I wanted to talk about for our daily application. So may you be merciful today in whatever you experience. If not today, that you have a cause for that, that it be another day. Because I guarantee you there'll be somebody who needs mercy. We can always choose to be merciful. And if it's hard, it's it's not uncommon. Don't feel like you're the only one struggling with it. It is not easy. How hard must it have been for David to do the right thing? It looks like David is just easily able to do the right thing, but he was running for his life. He was struggling, and he asked God what to do every step of the way. And he saved the people of the town, by the way, when he prayed and asked God, "Will Saul come here?" And God said yes. And he said, "Will the people turn me over?" And he said yes. Remember when he was in the previous town of Nod and the priests knew he was there? Saul had the shepherd kill the priests because he had been there, and the people of the town. Only one man got away. And David didn't want that same action to occur to other people. So he was thinking about others. And so he fled, not just for his own safety, but for the safety of that town. He was thinking about what was best for others too. So it can be difficult to do for others when we're thinking about ourselves and we're worried about ourselves. But God protected him. And we read today or we read today that God did not allow Saul to capture David or to hurt him. So all the time, it is God who has been in control. David may be running, but it is God who is saving David. And he will save us too, if our hearts are with him and we are seeking to do his will. Well, that's all I have for us today. I am very glad that you have joined me today. Thank you very much for listening. Whether you have been watching or listening on TikTok or Spotify or YouTube or my site or your favorite podcasting app, I'm so glad that you have joined me today. And if you feel that God has lit your light today, please click that light button. It looks like a thumbs up or a heart, or follow the podcast or subscribe to the channel. And together, let's light up the world for Jesus and for God and spread the word about reading God's word. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see everybody again tomorrow.